Have you ever started a diet and got a couple days in and it started to get tough, so you quit it? Or have you ever started with a personal trainer or started a workout program and you ramped up and did good for a couple days but started feeling sore and it was tough to walk up or down stairs, so you quit? In the same token, have you ever started treatment or care with a healthcare practitioner where you started to feel better and then you started to notice some discomfort as care progressed, and so you quit? Well, I would ask you the question, as a human being, as you grow, is your growth always linear, or do you have spurts of growth and then plateaus, and spurts of growth and then plateaus? And sometimes after spurts of growth, maybe some pains, like growing pains. This is how you should expect anything in life to go, because none of us do this all the time. There's ebbs and flows. So with your healthcare providers, just because you're noticing symptoms, maybe worse symptoms, does not mean that the provider doesn't know what they're doing. That's what we want to investigate today. I'm Dr. John Bartemus, and I'm putting the pieces together to help you live a life at optimal. So we all want the ideal life, right? And ideally, everything we did would look like this. We would grow in a steady, ongoing, improving state. Our money, our bank accounts would grow in a steady, improving state. Our fitness would improve. Our weight loss would continue. Everything that we want to happen would be smooth, no problems, and get right where we want it to go. That's unrealistic. In real life, things look more like the stock market, right? There's some increases, then some drops, some increases, then some drops, increases, then drops. But overall, the trend of it all is still going the direction that we want to go, hopefully, unless there's a stock market crash, which we don't ever want to see. But in terms of your fitness, there's going to be improvements early on, and then maybe some plateaus or maybe some drops because of soreness or injuries or whatever. In your diet, you're going to potentially lose a lot of weight initially and then reach a spot where, hey, you have to work harder to lose less weight than you lost initially to start. There's plateaus and maybe some pain with it. Or in treatment with a doctor, you get better steadily, but as a next phase of care comes in, maybe you start to notice increased symptoms. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but the way that you want to tease that out with your practitioner is communicate with the practitioner. And so one way to determine if your practitioner knows what they're doing or is open to learning, is open to growing in their field, is to open the conversation. Hey, doc, I've implemented this treatment you recommended, and I'm noticing this discomfort or an exacerbation of these symptoms. And the doctor's response is going to tell you a lot about what they know and whether or not you should stay with them. If they say, oh, that's normal, forget about it, without explaining why it's normal and what you can expect next, that's maybe not someone you want to stay with. Or if they make the statement, oh, that couldn't be our treatment, it's probably something else, that's a red flag as well. What you want is a practitioner that hopefully before you got to this stage gave you the heads up or the informed consent beforehand to say, hey, Jane, we're going to implement this treatment, and the clinical intent of this treatment is to get you here, but sometimes along the way of the treatment, you'll notice, hey, I'm feeling good, but then there's a drop or a plateau, good, a drop or a plateau. And as you work in phases of your care plan, different improvements or drops can occur. And if they occur, they'll look like this, maybe gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, itching, et cetera, et cetera. That is how your clinician should be communicating with you ahead of time to say, here's our intention, here's what we're doing and why. We want to impact this physiological pathway. And everyone responds different, and I don't know how you're going to respond, Jane, so here's potential ways you could respond. You're going to respond in the clear and just do this, or you may notice a short period of worsening because of X, Y, or Z, and the worsening may manifest as symptoms such as gas, bloating, constipation, etc. And then if you do manifest those things in your experience and you relate it to the doc, then they should be able to say, okay, remember we had the conversation, this was something that we said may happen, and tell me more about what you're experiencing so we can make sure this is a common occurrence, not necessarily a normal occurrence, right? It's common to get mugged in New York City. It's not normal to get mugged in New York City. So we want to understand your experience as the patient and what you're going through, and look at your whole case and say, okay, this is a common response to this phase of the treatment plan. It should last for a couple days max, and then improvement should recur, right? If it lasts for more than that couple days, then maybe we have to question or tweak the plan and say, okay, this is telling us this about your case, so we need to make these amendments. Right? So life is all about growing or decaying. If you're not putting in work, you're going to decay. But if you're putting in work, there's going to be this growth and kind of 2 steps forward, sometimes 1 step back, stock market type look to it, even though we would all love to just see infinite return right away. In real life, there's ebbs and flows to physiology, to our savings, to our weight loss, to our fitness, etc. So just have a clinician that you can have an open conversation with, an open dialogue with about all these things. Hopefully have a clinician that knows more than you and more than Dr. Google, so that when these things occur, you can investigate and tweak and amend care accordingly.